Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Let's get started. Tonight on Gravitas, we focus on the growing humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Are the airdrops enough to save lives on the ground? We break down what is known about the aid situation. We also tell you all about the war that the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is tackling at home, facing revolt from within. Also on the show for you tonight, we get you the latest on India's Operation Mahadev. Security forces in Jammu and Kashmir have neutralized 3 heavily armed terrorists during an encounter. We are getting you the details in just a bit. The abbot of the world-renowned Shaolin Temple is being investigated for alleged embezzlement and what are being called improper relationships with multiple women. We tell you all about the scandal. All this and more coming up. Aid is falling from the sky in Gaza, but is the food reaching the empty stomachs? After weeks of mounting international pressure, Israel announced what it called tactical pauses in military operations to let the aid in. But from the ground, it doesn't look like a breakthrough. It's desperation, in fact, because the hunger does not pause. The war does not pause. What about the airdrops? They may look good from the air, but are they enough to save lives on the ground devastated by almost 2 years of the relentless strikes? Because starvation is still haunting the people on the ground. Here's what Gaza looks like today. 8 packages drifted down from planes in Gaza as hungry Palestinians rushed in, some cheering, others just running and hoping that maybe this time there's something left for them. It's as chaotic and as violent as it gets. Eyewitnesses compared getting aid to entering a battlefield.
We have been waiting since 6 in the morning for aid and flour to feed our children. Bullets were flying overhead and tanks surrounded us. We grabbed this sack from under the tip of a tank. I've walked about 4 kilometers on foot with the sack on my shoulders.
From Gaza, new images showing a mother carrying her malnourished child to a hospital that's running low on just about everything: beds, medicines, food. And she's not alone. 1 in every 5 children in Gaza is now malnourished. More than 100 people have died of hunger, most of them in just the last 4 weeks.
I've come so I can provide a piece of bread for my children. It's been 2 months since we've had a single grain of flour at home. No one is going to help me if my children die.
Israel says over 120 trucks of aid were picked up and distributed on Sunday, with more waiting at the border. But the UN says that's not even a quarter of what's needed. Gaza needs 500 to 600 trucks of food, water and medicine every day. And right now, just a fraction makes it. And not always safely, by the way.
We went to get flour, but tanks and drones opened fire on us, and this young man was martyred. Every day there are martyrs and injuries.
Tents that replaced homes are now gone as well. People who fled from bombs are being bombed again. This weekend, a pregnant woman was reportedly killed in an airstrike. Her baby was saved by emergency C-section in a field hospital. This is Gaza's new normal.
We were sleeping in our tents, as you see. Here it is, a tent camp, and the house is in front of us. A missile or two missile fell. The glare of the missile and stones came towards us, and our tents fell above our heads.
But the person ordering these strikes, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he says that the hunger crisis is not Israel's fault. He says that the aid is there and it's not being picked up. Listen to this.
Israel is presented as though we are applying a campaign of starvation in Gaza. What a bold-faced lie. There is no policy of starvation in Gaza, and there is no starvation in Gaza. We enable humanitarian aid throughout the duration of the war to enter Gaza, otherwise there would be no Gazans.
But UN agencies, including the World Food Programme and the WHO, strongly disagree. They say it's Israel's blockade, bombing, and the sidelining of experienced humanitarian groups that has made the distribution of aid impossible, according to them. Some aid sites have become so dangerous that people are shot at while trying to collect food. Others have reportedly aid looted by armed groups. In fact, the United Nations World Food Programme says 470,000 people in Gaza are facing famine-like conditions. The World Health Organization, it says children are arriving at hospitals with bodies so wasted they are dying within hours or are dead on arrival. And these deaths are not random. They are preventable.
This is not just a crisis of scarcity. It is a crisis of equity and climate. Nearly 40% of the global workforce is linked to food systems, yet many remain trapped in poverty. Climate change is disrupting harvests, supply chains, and humanitarian response. Conflicts continues to drive hunger from Gaza to Sudan and beyond. Hunger feeds further instability and undermines peace. We must never accept hunger as a weapon of war.
So where does that leave us? Sure, aid is trickling in, but starvation is surging. Israel is defending its actions, but the death toll from hunger, including children, keeps rising. Airdrops may soothe the headlines, but they don't stop famine and hunger, as we've seen again and again in this war, has become not a consequence, but a tool in a way. And so until the aid flows at the scale that is needed, Gaza's children will keep dying of hunger while the world watches food fall from the sky. And as Gaza descends deeper into that humanitarian catastrophe, a quiet revolt is brewing within the ranks of the Israeli army itself. According to a report in The Telegraph, a growing number of Israeli soldiers are now refusing to fight in what they describe as Prime Minister Netanyahu's forever war. One of them is Captain Ron Finner, a decorated young officer who survived a deadly ambush in southern Lebanon last October. A bullet struck his helmet. 6 of his comrades died that day. He pulled the injured to safety, but today he refuses to return for another tour of duty in Gaza. He says, I'm quoting, "Our government wants this war to last as long as possible. They don't want peace. I cannot be part of that," quote unquote. And for refusing to serve, reportedly, he was sentenced to 25 days in jail as part of what appears to be a wider movement of quiet defiance within the Israeli Defense Forces. Many reservists, according to the Telegraph, are simply not turning up. Some simply, quote unquote, forget to check their emails. Others cite family emergencies or go abroad during call-up windows. The true rate of attendance, some say it's dropped as low as 60%. The soldiers describe what's happening inside Gaza, the starvation, the desperation, as the reason for why more Israeli soldiers are choosing to walk away. According to the report, former and serving senior Israeli officers are now questioning the very point of this war. They have started openly admitting that Netanyahu is prolonging the war to save his political skin. They say, quoting, "It's about Netanyahu's survival," quote unquote. Let's now shift focus to India. In Jammu and Kashmir, security forces have neutralized 3 heavily armed terrorists during an encounter. This is on the outskirts of Srinagar. The Indian Army confirmed the killing of the terrorists who were Pakistani nationals in the ongoing operation. Following a gun battle, security forces recovered all 3 bodies from the site. Weapons, ammunition were also seized. The recovered arms include a US-manufactured carbine, an AK-47 rifle, 17 rifle grenades, and several other military-grade materials.
The operation is still continue. It was an operation which is quite prolonged for a long time. And that is still continuing, but in which Jammu Kashmir Police, paramilitary and army, they have an exchange of fire in the higher reaches. So as per the interior reports, 3 bodies have been observed and seems to be neutralized. So this is all, but still it is operation. So I would not like to divulge much at this moment. We will share details with you at an opportune time.
Sources have identified one of the dead terrorists as Suleiman Shah, a name that matches an individual listed by the National Investigation Agency in connection with the Pahalgam terror attack. An official confirmation on the identities of the terrorists is awaited. Earlier today, the Chinar Corps of the Indian Army confirmed initial contact with the terrorists in the area, which led to a swift and coordinated operation codenamed Operation Mahadev. And according to reports, the encounter started around 11 a.m. after authorities received intelligence about the presence of the foreign terrorists in the region, leading to the operation unfolding in the densely forested areas. Top-ranking officials from both the Indian Army and the Jammu and Kashmir Police have hailed the operation as a significant breakthrough against the crackdown on cross-border terrorism. Switching focus, Russia continues to sharpen its assault on Ukraine. The country launched a fierce attack, destroying one of Ukrainian airfields. The airfield was reportedly housing F-16 fighter jets. And now the US president has given a new ultimatum to his Russian counterpart. Speaking in Scotland, Trump says that he is reducing his 50-day deadline given to Russia. Trump says Putin now has 10 to 12 days to end the war in Ukraine.
The war has entered an ominous new chapter. Recent weeks have seen Russia clawing back territory, pushing Ukrainian forces back from key front lines. In Donetsk and Luhansk, Kharkiv's outskirts are now bracing under renewed artillery fire. And in the southeast, Russian gains threaten to strangle Ukrainian supply routes.
I'm disappointed in President Putin. Very disappointed in him. So we're going to have to look, and I'm going to reduce that 50 days.
These are the new images released by Russian Defense Ministry, showing Russian forces unleashing those two flamethrowers. A thermobaric weapon designed to inflict maximum destruction. These flamethrowers fire rockets that disperse explosive aerosols, which detonate on impact, creating massive high-pressure blasts. In a calculated overnight barrage, Russia launched hundreds of drones and 7 missiles, striking hard at western Ukraine's Starokonstiantyev air base, which according to reports is a base for NATO-supplied F-16 fighter jets. The strike didn't stop at Ukraine's borders. Poland scrambled fighter jets in response to the wave of Russian drones veering close to NATO airspace, another ominous escalation. The US President Donald Trump, who is in UK, says he is reducing the 50-day deadline he set for Russian President Vladimir Putin to agree to a deal on Ukraine.
I'm disappointed in President Putin. Very disappointed in him. So we're going to have to look, and I'm going to reduce that 50 days that I gave him to a lesser number because I think I already know the answer what's going to happen.
On the ground, Russian forces are continuing to advance. With every new assault, Russia's footprint grows and the peril spreads far beyond Ukrainian soil. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Let's now talk about what's happening in China. Its world-famous Buddhist sanctuary, the Shaolin Temple, finds itself at the center of a sex scandal. According to a statement released by the Buddhist sanctuary, the abbot of the renowned Shaolin Temple, Shi Yongshen, is currently under investigation for alleged criminal offenses, including embezzling project funds and temple assets. But that's not all. Also, allegedly, he maintained improper relationships with multiple women for a long time and reportedly even has illegitimate children with them, allegedly. However, this is not the first time he is facing such charges. He is suspected of being a serial offender for his alleged involvement in fraud and sexual misconduct. Even a decade ago, also known as CEO Monk, he has been well known for his contributions towards the temple, which helped transform the spiritual site into a commercial empire of global fame. In 2006, he was criticized for accepting a luxury car from the local government in recognition of his contribution to tourism. In March 2015, he was criticized for a plan to build a $297 million hotel complex in Australia, which would include a temple, a live-in Kung Fu academy and a golf course. In 2017, the authorities dropped charges against him, citing insufficient evidence. But after the latest allegations, he has been stripped of his ordination certificate. Just for context here, the Shaolin Temple is one of the oldest in China, established more than 1500 years ago. It's often called the birthplace of Zen or Chan Buddhism. The temple attracts thousands of devotees every year from around the world. It's also recognized as the cradle of Shaolin Kung Fu. Will this latest controversy affect the temple's long-standing popularity? And also coming up on the show for you tonight, Turkey has unveiled its most powerful non-nuclear bomb to date. What is known about it? We get to you the complete story. The race for critical minerals is heating up. A mining company backed by two big names, Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, is making headlines. What does this mean for China and the world? Is our planet changing? What has shifted the Earth's rotational axis? And what does it mean for you and me? We break it down for you. European stocks slip into the red as the US trade deal optimism wanes, while the American stock markets are in the green. And this reflects the mood as European leaders are saying they haven't got much in the deal. The European Union vehemently defended its trade deal with President Trump. EU capitals and businesses are sharply divided, with France calling it a black day for Europe. The big question still is, has Europe surrendered to Donald Trump?
It's a good deal. It's a huge deal. We came to good conclusions for both sides.
The ink is barely dry on what can only be described as a transactional armistice, brokered under the undeniable pressure of American economic might. The US and EU clinched a trade agreement on Sunday that will see EU exports taxed at 15%.
So I just want to congratulate you. I think it's great that we made a deal today instead of playing games and maybe not making a deal at all.
This deal creates certainty in uncertain times. It delivers stability and predictability for citizens and businesses on both sides of the Atlantic. This is a deal between the two largest economies in the world. We trade 1.7 trillion euros per year.
The deal obliges the EU to purchase a staggering $750 billion worth of American energy during Trump's term. The bloc has pledged an additional $600 billion in investments inside the US economy, an economic stimulus not for the continent. The French Prime Minister François Bayrou has slammed the deal as a dark day for the free peoples of Europe.
Et donc, cet effet-là,
the United States has decided to impose by force a new law of the jungle that no longer respects the international trade rules we had for decades, rules that fostered the prosperity of our respective countries.
et qui faisait la prospérité de nos pays.
Italy says it's positive about the US-EU trade deal, but seeks more clarity.
I don't know exactly what we are referring to when it comes to investments concerning gas and others. I am unable to evaluate this until I have clear data. Obviously, it will be necessary to study the details of the agreement.
Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán, without mincing words, says that Trump did not reach an agreement with Ursula von der Leyen, but rather he ate the EU chief for breakfast. The US and EU will have 0-for-0 tariffs on aircraft and plane parts, certain chemicals, and some agricultural products. However, lingering punitive tariffs on European steel and aluminium remain unresolved, signaling ongoing vulnerabilities.
I think in economic terms, what we see as evidence is that it's probably very manageable for the EU. And to some extent, this is a Pyrrhic victory for Trump. Because there is agreement among economists that putting 15% tariff on your closest trading partner is a stupid idea. It's a bad idea. It's not something that will be to the detriment of your own economy more than anything else.
Europe, cornered by economic stagnation and strategic uncertainty for now, has decided not to risk escalating a trade war that could have hurt European companies more than Trump's tariffs already have. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Turkey has unveiled its most powerful non-nuclear bomb to date. The new airdropped weapon comes with a massive warhead weighing nearly 1,000 kilograms. The bomb, designed by the Turkish Defense Ministry's Research and Development Center, was revealed during an international defense industry fair in Istanbul. The engineers behind it reportedly designed it to cause far more destruction than previous models. And according to Turkish media, this bomb spreads deadly fragments more densely across its blast radius. Instead of scattering every 3 meters, it releases explosive fragments every single meter. And that is a major increase in lethality. According to local reports, the weapon has been fully tested, certified, and ready for deployment, and can be launched from standard F-16 fighter jets currently used by the Turkish Air Force. Now, this announcement comes just days after Turkey revealed its first hypersonic missile, the Typhoon Block 4. Weighing more than 7 tons, this advanced missile includes a multi-purpose warhead and is designed to hit high-value targets from long distances. And that includes air defense networks, command centers, aircraft shelters, and other sensitive military infrastructure. The missile reportedly has a range of around 1,000 kilometers. Usually, the warhead in hypersonic missiles travels at more than 5 times the speed of sound, around 6,200 kilometers per hour, while maneuvering at relatively low altitudes. And these displays of power emerging as the country's ties with Israel grow more strained, especially over Syria. Israeli officials have accused Turkey of trying to expand its military influence, claiming Turkish support for the Syrian government could potentially shift the power balance in the region. Pakistan authorities have uncovered a massive illegal trade operation in the country in a major crackdown on illegal meat trade. The Islamabad Food Authority has seized over 900 kgs of donkey meat from a farmhouse in Tarnol. In fact, over 50 live donkeys were also confiscated during a raid on the premises, and a foreign national was taken into custody on the spot. Authorities believe the meat was allegedly being supplied not only to the local market, but also exported abroad. Investigators believe the illegal business was being run by a Chinese national who had reportedly been active in the area for an extended period. And according to a spokesperson for the Islamabad District Administration, an FIR has been registered against the foreign national following the recovery. The spokesperson added that the administration is investigating local accomplices involved in the supply chain. The case is being pursued from multiple angles. The raid was carried out by a team led by IFA Deputy Director. And according to the initial probe, the business was being run by a foreigner living in the area. However, the farmhouse was not registered for such an activity. The IFA has noted that the packaging found on site was confiscated, indicating it may have been prepared for export or high-end distribution. Dr. Siddique has in fact instructed to destroy confiscated meat. The IFA has ordered cases against all suspects to dismantle the network. Time now for Gravitas Deep Dive. Britain's Defence Secretary John Healey, standing aboard the HMS Prince of Wales in northern Australia, sent out a big warning. He said that the UK is ready to fight alongside allies if a war breaks out over Taiwan. But how much of that is bluster and how much muscle does Britain really bring to the Pacific? His comments, made during a joint appearance with Australia's Deputy Prime Minister, Richard Marles, were pointed. In fact, he said, and I'm quoting, "If we have to fight, Australia and the UK are nations that will fight together," quote unquote. And while he later softened the stance, emphasizing diplomacy and deterrence, It was by far the most direct language yet from a British minister on the Taiwan flashpoint. The message seemed aimed at China, where President Xi Jinping has refused to rule out the use of force in the reunification of Taiwan. Remember, China views the island nation as its own territory. Taiwan, of course, rejects that claim. But Western powers are now walking a tightrope of posturing without provoking in a way. The UK's most powerful warship, HMS Prince of Wales, is in the middle of a 9-month Pacific deployment. It is the first time in almost 30 years that a British carrier strike group has docked in Australia, and it's also the first time that any non-US carrier has joined Australia's annual war drills called Talisman Sabre. But the bigger question here is, what does Britain actually plan to do if China invades Taiwan? Last month, a smaller British petrol vessel sailed through the Taiwan Strait, drawing praise from Taipei, but Beijing, of course, was not happy. But officials in the UK are also quick to remind that there is no change in Britain's formal position on Taiwan, no commitment to defend it, no promise of direct engagement. And as the Defense Secretary put it, quoting, "We secure peace through strength. And our strength comes from our allies," quote unquote. And that strength now includes the Geelong Treaty, which is a new 50-year pact between Britain and Australia under the AUKUS agreement, pledging to build a new generation of nuclear-powered submarines. So while Britain warns China against escalation, it does so with limited leverage and few actual red lines. So sure, Britain says it's ready to fight, but when push comes to shove, the real message may be this: the UK is watching, sailing nearby and exercising with allies. But the front line over Taiwan, that may be one fight Britain still hopes to talk its way out of.
Mission of hostility.
A mining company backed by billionaires Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos is reportedly on course to challenge China in the race for critical minerals used in modern technology. The firm is preparing to mine lithium in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The country is estimated to have as much as $24 trillion of untapped resources. The firm also reportedly acquired rights to one of the world's largest hard rock lithium deposits in an area that has seen conflict for decades now and is now reportedly partially under the control of neighboring Rwanda-backed rebel forces. This mining project is perhaps seen as a test of America's new foreign policy under President Donald Trump. Just last month itself, America brokered a peace deal between Congo and Rwanda, remember, which Trump termed as historic. But key details remain unclear, including the extent of US security support and who actually benefits the most from American investments. And despite its rich copper, cobalt, tin, uranium, Congo remains one of the world's poorest countries. For years now, American companies have reportedly stayed away from the Central African country, reportedly due to corruption and instability, leaving room for China to dominate in a way. And now Trump's approach and the ceasefire agreement have perhaps encouraged the Bezos-Gates-backed firm to launch a large-scale exploration project covering over 1,600 square kilometers. But this very site reportedly lies in Congo's most volatile eastern province. Minerals like manganese are already being mined there, often in areas controlled by the M23 rebels backed by Rwanda. Congo's president is reportedly eyeing more Western investment to counter China's growing presence. In February, the country offered mining rights to the US in return for security assistance. And since then, the Congolese president has publicly praised Trump and even backed calls for him to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. The firm backed by Bezos and Gates in the past has used artificial intelligence, in fact, to locate untapped mineral deposits, a method that helped it discover Zambia's largest copper find in 100 years. But faces tough questions about reports of potential labor abuse, allegedly, environmental damage, and whether its wealthy backers can meet the humanitarian promises. The Congo conflict goes back to the 1994 genocide in Rwanda. Around 2 million Hutus, an ethnic group, fled into Congo afterwards, sparking regional wars, and Rwanda has intervened repeatedly, claiming threats from the Hutu militias. Over 6 million people have died since, mostly due to war, hunger, and disease. Analysts say the fight over Congo's minerals is a major driver of violence, while the UN and Western reports accuse Rwanda of helping rebels to steal and export these resources. Rwanda denies the charges. The tech industry is witnessing significant job cuts this year. It's been described as one of the sector's most difficult years, in fact. You know how many jobs have reportedly been slashed? 100,000. And in the latest, TCS, Tata Consultancy Services, India's largest IT services provider, will reduce its workforce by 2% in its 2026 financial year, primarily affecting middle and senior management. It has said the company is retraining and redeploying staff as it enters new markets, invests in new technology, and deploys AI, but about 12,200 jobs will be cut as part of the process, adding that this transition is being planned with due care to ensure there is no impact on service delivery to the clients. As per the Bridge Chronicle, more than 100,000 have been laid off so far, with Intel, the leader, slashing over 12,000 positions across the world. Thousands of personnel have been laid off from firms like Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, Google, Salesforce, just to name a few. The big question still is, how exactly is AI changing the tech sector? In terms of personnel being hired and also in terms of roles, layoffs. While there have been a series of statements issued by industry experts and tech firm leaders, the fact is AI is here to stay, and so is its impact. It's a double-edged sword which will continue to impact our lives in more ways than one. AI is reshaping operations, transforming the industry, but also sparking layoff concerns among employees. Just earlier this month, according to a report by Bloomberg, Microsoft's chief commercial officer had said the company saved more than $500 million in its call centers last year by deploying AI. And speaking to the employees recently, he reportedly said AI tools have boosted productivity in areas like sales, customer service, and software engineering, and reportedly stressed to employees that AI could help make them more effective sellers. The company is reportedly now using AI to handle interactions with smaller customers and is already generating tens of millions of dollars. Meanwhile, the company has also implemented one of its biggest waves of layoffs this year. In fact, tech giants are pouring money into AI, and some other tech giants investing heavily in AI have also turned to workforce cuts. Some companies that have undergone job cuts are dealing with shifting priorities and changing technologies. Economic uncertainty and cost pressures are also driving some companies to streamline and restructure. US President Donald Trump's golfing trip in Scotland is making headlines, but there is more to it than meets the eye, perhaps. At the weekend round of golf at his resort in Scotland, Trump was being trailed by a heavily armored black buggy, which is anything unlike ever spotted earlier. Not only is it bespoke, but also appears to be tailored in a way that could actually provide an added layer of security. A darkened windscreen, reinforced side panels, and thick rear casing, just to name some of the features that stood out. Experts suggest that it could even possibly withstand ballistic threats. Informally termed Golf Force One introducing such a vehicle is hardly unusual given the series of threats faced by Trump in the past. It's not confirmed yet whether this actually serves the purpose of security cover or not. Now, Trump is not among the ones to stop or rest on laurels. After Turnberry, he is all set to open a new golf course in Aberdeenshire alongside British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. But as you know, controversy hardly is away from the US president, and his golf course is no exception. In a video that is now doing the rounds on social media, Trump has been accused of cheating while playing a round of golf, a scene which purportedly comes with videographic evidence. Not the first time, of course, that such allegations of cheating in broad daylight have come in. In fact, even as these remain speculative as of now, with neither Trump nor the White House weighing in, one thing is certain. For Trump, golf seems to be more than just a sporting event, a perfect blend perhaps of charisma and also maybe a dash of controversy. Are you talking to ChatGPT? Maybe you have to think twice. A chilling warning from OpenAI CEO revealing a legal void surrounding your most sensitive digital confessions in a way. Currently, there are no legal protections to safeguard the highly personal information that you share. In fact, this stark reality means your deepest secrets divulged through a chatbot could be legally compelled and exposed, leaving you vulnerable. Take a look.
ChatGPT has become an indispensable digital oracle, a go-to for advice on relationships, life choices, and even profound emotional struggles. Users, particularly the young, are increasingly treating the AI as a therapist, a life coach, or even a lawyer, pouring out their most personal details into its conversational interface. The perceived anonymity and instant availability foster an illusion of absolute confidentiality. For many, it acts as a digital confession where they can pour out their private thoughts without the fear of human judgment. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman has now unequivocally shattered that illusion. Altman warned that unlike conversations with a human therapist, doctor, or lawyer, interactions with ChatGPT currently possess no legal privilege. This means that if there is a lawsuit or any legal case, OpenAI might have to share those conversations with others, even if they include your most sensitive information. ChatGPT now handles 2.5 billion prompts daily, marking a rapid rise in usage and sparking comparisons with Google. It is a sign of how quickly the AI chatbot has become a major part of daily online activity. But with this new revelation, don't lower your guard. So the next time you feel like telling ChatGPT your secrets, ask yourself, would you say the same thing to a stranger on the street? Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Youth violence is increasingly becoming a pressing concern in France's fragile cities, where socioeconomic disparities, unemployment, and lack of opportunities have created an environment ripe for unrest. A clash broke out in one part on 14th of July. Dozens of masked assailants wielding metal bars and mortars attacked cars on a busy road and clashed with the police, leaving at least 9 injured. And this comes amid an increase in youth violence in several parts. The mayor in the area has said that very poor neighborhood, which has young people from immigrant backgrounds, had become a lawless zone. On the same night, that is on the 14th of July, the police station in another part was attacked by a group of 30 youths, also armed with mortar fireworks. In fact, there were similar incidents in the south in other parts as well. In recent years, the country has witnessed a surge in violent incidents, particularly in urban areas with large immigrant populations. The root causes of the violence are complex, ranging from economic frustration to cultural and religious tensions. As per reports, almost 4 out of 10 people between the ages of 16 and 25 in one part are neither in school nor employed. The involvement of teenagers in recent disturbances in the area and other parts sparked a debate about overnight summer curfews for minors in the country. Another resort town has enforced a summer night curfew for children, in fact, for over 2 decades. Other towns, including several in the Paris suburbs, have followed suit in recent years. Following the recent violence, authorities imposed a 2-week curfew in one part from 9 p.m. in 6 of the city's poorest areas. The effectiveness of these measures is being questioned, though, as curfews were already in place in the part before the trouble started. The silent, unseen hand of humanity is physically altering our planet. A new scientific revelation confirming that our insatiable thirst for groundwater has literally shifted the Earth's rotational axis, subtly yet profoundly. And this subtle but seismic shift exposes a hidden yet profound consequence of our environmental footprint. Take a look.
We've moved the Earth, not metaphorically, literally. In one of the most disturbing findings of modern geophysics, scientists have confirmed that human extraction of over 2,250 gigatons of groundwater has physically altered the planet's balance, shifting its rotational axis by nearly 3.5 inches. This isn't a distant, abstract event. It's a direct result of relentless groundwater extraction for agriculture and human consumption, draining reservoirs and sending that water rushing into the oceans, contributing directly not only to sea level rise, but also to the very axis on which the planet spins. Our planet, in a way, is a colossal gyroscope. Beneath the surface, as vast tracts of groundwater vanish, the planet's mass shifts. This displacement nudges the rotational pole, registering a tilt change that scientists have been tracking with increasing alarm. Our activities, largely invisible and unconsidered, are physically rewriting Earth's biomechanics, underpinning climate change's far-reaching effects in ways we never fully grasped. While the immediate impact on daily life might seem imperceptible, the long-term implications are profound. The Earth's axis, its orientation to the sun, is the primary reason for the changing season. Now that being altered.
India is raising the bar, quite literally. In a proud moment for the country's buzzing nightlife scene, 4 Indian bars have secured their place on Asia's 50 Best Bars 2025 list, with newcomers from Bengaluru and Goa. At number 30, making a smashing debut, is Boilermaker from Goa. Meanwhile, Bengaluru is fast becoming a serious contender on Asia's cocktail map. 3 bars are now on the list from there. And 2 of them are brand new entries, by the way. At number 28 is Soka, and at 37 is Bar Spirit Forward. And ranked 31 is ZLB 23. Also making the country proud, New Delhi's Lair, climbing up the charts to number 8, making it the highest ranked Indian bar this year. And if these awards are any indication, India's mixology scene is clearly entering a golden era. Elon Musk's brain chip company Neuralink has joined a groundbreaking clinical trial for visual prosthetics. The trial is being conducted by researchers at the University of California, Santa Barbara, along with research teams in Spain. And the goal is the development of a smart bionic eye that will enable blind people to identify faces, navigate the outdoors, and even read. Neuralink stands to benefit from valuable clinical data that the trial is expected to generate. It brings to the table its advanced brain chip technology and experience with brain-computer interfaces. Neuralink has been working on Blindsight, a brain chip implant that aims to restore vision. Blindsight has been tested, in fact, on monkeys and has shown promise. The chip has never been implanted in a human brain. The company's brain implant technology is designed to interface directly with the cerebral cortex. The Blindsight device utilizes ultra-thin microelectrode arrays implanted directly into the visual cortex, bypassing damaged optic pathways. The visual information is captured by a camera on glasses, processed by AI and transmitted wirelessly to the brain implant to stimulate neurons and create a sensation of vision. Neuralink hopes to launch Blindsight by 2030. Neuralink's participation in the trial was disclosed in late July on clinicaltrials.gov, a US government website that basically publishes information on clinical research. The trial is in its initial stages. Patients are being enrolled by invitation, reportedly. Shifting our focus now to the world of fashion, Indian designer Tarun Talyani unveiled his latest collection, Quintessence, at the 18th edition of the India Couture Week. Take a look. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. We're leaving you with Gravitas Worldview. Thanks for watching.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Prime crime is your front row seat to darkness.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch